Hey everybody, it's Coach Richard Wharton here with OnlineBikeCoach.com. Today I'm with my friend David Simon at Bicycle Service Center. His shop is literally just down the hill from me, and he was the first guy that I met when I moved up here to Reno. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take my 9-year-old shock for my rear suspension, and we're going to replace it with a brand new Fox DPX2. And we're going to look at some of the differences between the two generations of shocks, and then I'm going to break it in, and over the course of the summer I'm going to update you with this video so that we can tune it and see if it really does make a difference for us. All right, so here we go. David, how long have you been in the sport?
I've been doing this about 45 years.
45 years, so you've seen it all, right?
Yeah, I've been around for a few days.
Fantastic, exactly. And you know, my bike was the, I took my bike in to you for the first time, and tell me a little bit about what this bike is versus what the bikes are like nowadays, because this is a 2012 bike, and I'm not going to update it.
Especially since when you first brought it into me and you just moved here from Texas.
Yes.
You weren't set up right for this area at all.
So tell me what some of the big differences are.
One of the big differences is you're used to riding really tight trails around in circles pretty much,
yeah.
And more of a rolling hill with a whole different type of terrain. You moved here and you're riding bigger mountains.
Lots of ups.
You're going over rock gardens that you've never experienced before, and sharp rocks, long pieces of terrain with nothing but rock.
So much your legs get tired.
And then a lot of hard pack with dry sand over it.
Got it. Yeah.
So
all those different kinds of
it's a lot different terrain than the Texas, especially a groomed park like you're used to in the middle of Dallas.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's exactly right.
You whole different tire setup, whole different handlebar setup, the whole thing. So
now that's interesting that he brings that up, because one of the things that happened first of all was I showed up with some Italian tires that were really lightweight racing tires, and they didn't make it. No. And what did we replace them with?
So we went with a Schwalbe tire here. We found that, at least in my opinion, the Schwalbe tires, if you look here on his bike, we've gone to the Rocket Ron. It's a fairly light tire, but for the area it's got a little heavier casing than the race tire that he had, so it resists the rock cuts better.
Yeah.
But the tread is entirely different. So up here you need a tread that'll cut through the soft sand on top of the hard pack, and that's one of the main reasons we chose this tire for him. Also, we increased the size just a little bit to give him some volume to roll. Right, bigger tire patch for more traction, and also to help increase rolling, the ease of rolling over rocks and stuff like that.
Got it.
The smaller tires just weren't going to cut it.
Very cool. So. And the result is that I've set a couple of KOMs and I've set a lot of PRs over the course of 2020. Now we're going into 2021, and one of the things that led me to this decision is I've been using the SRAM ShockWiz system. And the ShockWiz system I was able to tune to a high degree of specificity how to handle the damping and the compression and the air pressure and the sag, but we kind of reached the limits of the thing, and that's one of the reasons why we went to this. Now tell me a little bit more about this this rear suspension.
Going from his old shock to his new shock, the old shock was similar to this, similar coatings, similar can, similar air volume. What they've added to this is a recirculating dampening circuit, so it refreshes the oil a little more in the circuit, so it gets a little more consistent dampening, especially as you're traveling through a rock garden or you're really pushing the suspension hard through a hard turn with a lot of bumps. They use a nitrogen cartridge to help control that, but they also have added that recirculating dampening system to help make it even plusher, basically.
Plusher, got it.
Yeah, okay. So you're supposed to have a much plusher reaction out of this shock. The other thing they've added to this is they've opened up a low-speed dampening circuit on this. Okay. So when you're in your full open here, you can adjust the tunability of your full open on there. When you go into your other two circuits and your two closed circuits, that doesn't work anymore. Right. It's just for the open bath.
So I still have a little bit of lockout if I want for climbing purposes.
Your climbing lockout basically is going to be the same no matter what, because you're just trying to get it stiff.
Right.
Your high and low speed compressions, which this is a low speed compression adjustment. So when you're just traveling on a dirt road and you're just barreling down there and you're not on a rough surface and you still want it to be smooth without moving the suspension a lot, that gives you that little bit of feel right at the start of your travel where it's soft, so it relieves that low speed, that vibration that you would get on just like, you know, a regular dirt road, and you know, just to help plush it up.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited about learning about that. Right. Let's take a look at some of the history profiles, and we're going to use this camera for that. This is an interesting one. If we look right here, make sure the camera's right. Yep, okay. So if we look right here, this is dated August the 13th of 2019, and it's my initial setup. I had a baseline air pressure of 179 PSI. The compression ratio was 2.6, and I was 4 clicks from fast. Now, what we ended up with under suggestions is I got a 70 out of 100, and there was a very low confidence. And when we look at the recommendations, they're all over the map. Now, over the course of 2019 and into 2020, we'll go down a little ways, and let's look at the rear from April of 2020. It's about a year away. We're down to 136 PSI, a different compression ratio, and here are the suggestions. I'm up to 84% on confidence factor, and take a look. Specifically, high-speed compression needs help, and my sag was at, I think it never got above 30%. I was stuck between 30 and 40% the entire time. And so then we go on and let's look at, say, August, because I rode all summer long. Here's an August right there, and there's some more suggestions. Another 84 points. It's asking me to remove air. It's asking me to change spacers, and once again, the high-speed compression and the low-speed compression, it's asking to make that softer. All right. Now this is all with the what, RP23, is that what that model is?
Yeah. Okay.
And then finally, we're going to go into, let's look at October 19th, and with the suggestions, we're getting 88 points. Things are getting a little bit greener, but there we are, high speed and low speed compression. So then we kind of shut it down for the season. This helped me tune that high speed and low speed compression.
The low speed compression for sure. Okay. The high speed, you may have to even move up another notch in the shock food chain.
Okay.
Going to the different can and the recirculating circuit, it might help a little bit, but your low speed compression for sure, it's going to help.
Got it. Okay.
And give you that adjustability.
Excellent. Okay. Now, one of the things we have to remember is that it takes about 20 hours for a shock to break in, and it's not going to feel good when you start off because it's out of a factory and it's got different oils and different spacers and other things like that. So I'm going to get back on the bike and I'm going to start breaking it in, and I'm not going to expect anything fantastic until I've got, again, about 20 rides, 20 hours in. The best news is that David's store is 600 yards from the trailhead, and I live at the trailhead. So if I need help, I'm just going to bring it back down, and this is something we're going to make a very routine follow-up series of videos about, because once we get this thing dialed in, I'm really, really excited about what I'm going to be able to see, feel, and hear when I'm out on the single track of Peavine Mountain and all over the Eastern Sierras. So let's get started with the install. Okay, so here we are with my bike on the stand, and again, just to review, it's a 2012 Trek Superfly Pro 100. So it doesn't have the new suspension, it doesn't have the new geometry, it doesn't have, you know, sort of all the new bells and whistles, but I got Dave, and I got the shock. So what Dave's going to do is he's going to set this thing up. Do you have any last comments before we disassemble the other one?
No, let's just go ahead and get into it.
All right, great.
Let's go.
Take a look.
All right, so before we started this project, we took some basic measurements. Going from the old shock to the new shock, Fox has gone to a different mounting style to help smoothen out the ride. Once again, the old, what they called the DU bushing, was a aluminum sleeve that sets into the shock, and it didn't move or rotate. As they got dirty, they'd get sticky, and it would cause some friction and make the suspension harder to initially move on, especially on low speed bumps. So what they've gone to is they've gone to a newer type of sleeve system that floats freely through the head of the shock, so that doesn't happen anymore. So we'll go ahead and we're going to disconnect the old shock. He's got the performance meter on here, so we're going to take this off. The ShockWiz basically just screws on, and it's a bypass for the air system, and that's how it works. So Rich is going to have to reprogram this later for the shock that we're installing. We'll leave that up to him. So this shock basically is just two 5mm Allen heads we're going to remove. Real easy on this frame. There's just a bolt. Basically, you got to dewdrop the old shock. So we're going to set this aside. Okay, new shock we've already measured out with our mic, the spacer kits, because Fox basically sells these in different widths to match the size of the frame, going up in a couple millimeter increments. So this particular frame uses actually two different sizes. The front is a lot larger than the rear, and that's what we've got here. So we'll take this kit out. We'll kind of show you how these bushings go together. Now on the factory shock, the main plastic sleeve has already been installed for us. So we're going to install the slide bushing. And these should just press in. And then there's a little spacer kit that goes with it. We've got a rubber O-ring that goes on first. That's to help keep dirt get out of this joint and keep that thing rolling smooth. And then these bushings will just snap on. You've actually got multiple bushings on some of the wider kits like this one to take up the slack. And get my fingers to work these snap rings. They get them on here pretty tight. All right, and one more. Okay, so that's our front bushing. We're just going to double check that's right. Yep, hey, right on the money, guys. So, and then we're going to do the same thing to the rear. I'm going to go ahead and put get this lined up. And yeah, that's good. And then if you got clumsy hands like me, you get to pick stuff up. And that is how simple it is to install a shock. All right, now I'll grab my torque wrench. There we go. All right. And that's it.
So here's what we're going to do next. We're going to preset this. I'm going to install the ShockWiz on it, and then I'm going to go ride. So anyway, David, thank you. Thank you for this. I appreciate it. And we're going to make sure that we go through the rest of the summer like this. We're going to ride it, give it 5 or 6, 7 hours, make alterations to the compression, the damping, and the oil if we need to. If we need to do spacers, we'll do the spacers. But the goal is to turn this into a very solid rudder for my all-terrain abilities and see if this 9-year-old bike can pick up a new level of performance. That's about it. Thanks so much, and enjoy the ride. Hey everybody, it's Coach Wharton here, and I just want to take a moment to thank you for watching this video and also for reading the blog when I do post. I don't do this for free. I do ask that you take the time to leave me a tip if you feel comfortable with it. I have a link at the area below. I also have a subscription, and if you're curious about other services, I can offer those as well. They're available on my website. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a tip if you can, and spread the word to other folks. Thank you.